Good morning and welcome to Southwick Wood. Having failed miserably in Dorset to see an early purple orchid, I thought let's go and give it a try locally. It was the 4th of May last year when we came here. We are about 10 days before that, so I'm working on the basis, as everyone keeps telling me, the season is early and that we'll see something worth seeing. I could be wrong, but I've got to come out and try. I have actually been out this morning already. I popped over to some woodland area, Ashton Wold. It was actually the road to Ashton Wold from Warmington on the road out to Oundle. I was tipped off, thank you Richard, about some early purple orchids growing on the grass verges. Didn't expect too much, but I was quite impressed. So while I'm walking out to the woods here, I'll run back the footage that I picked up this morning, the first early purple orchids that I've seen in this area. I can definitely see some colour up ahead. And our early purple orchids. Oh, there's some down here as well. Well, certainly well on their way based on this one. Apologies for the wind blowing the plants around. There's a good few dotted around on this grass verge. I'm just wondering whether these are blown out here from the woodland next door, in which case might need to try and find a way of getting in there, because I suspect there might be some more. Well, I've dived into the wood and there's nothing in here. Nothing that I can see anyway. I'll head back out on the road and continue looking along the verges. It seems to be the hot spot. Bit of colour over there. Very nice. These are pretty close to being fully open. In fact, some of them even starting to go over. Either that or they've just got a bit battered. Good to see though. Certainly an impressive swathe of purple up ahead. Must be early purple orchids. Fantastic sight. Very good. That's a nice one. They're all purple, but slightly different variations of purple, I suppose. That's certainly a mature plant. I think the top's been nipped off, probably by rabbits, but otherwise it's in full glory. There you go, the road to Ashton Wold. Quite impressive. That, particularly that batch at the end there on the verge, that was mighty impressive. They're all purple. I had this hunch a few years ago that the early season early purple orchids tend to be more purple than sort of pinks and, dare I even suggest, whites. But I'm hoping, well, first of all, they looked 70–80% open, which is good and impressive and surprising, but in tune with what people are saying, that the season is a bit early. I'm hoping these, because obviously those were on the grass verges and were quite exposed. Did that make a difference? I don't know. The ones we're about to see, hopefully in Southwick Wood, are not out in the open. They're in the woods, and I'm hoping they're as advanced as the ones that we saw earlier this morning. And if so, you tend to get a bit more variation here, so fingers crossed it'll be a good Southwick Wood season. You may remember, I mean I certainly remember, on the way back from Southwick Woods last year, in an area somewhere just up ahead, we found 2 or 3 early purple orchids growing outside the woods and on the banks of this ditch. So if we're going to have a good session this morning, I would be hopeful of seeing those again this year. Fingers crossed. Plenty of youthful bluebells on the banks of the ditch, but no sign of those early purple orchids that were here, unless I'm being impatient. Right, nothing on the outside that I can find. Let's scramble our way into the woods and keep our fingers crossed. As was the case last year, the path is nigh on impassable unless you got wellies on, and I haven't. Familiar path that I recall from previous seasons. The good news is I've looked down some of the glades that we will walk through a little bit later, and I can see flashes of purple, so they are out. You can probably just pick them up on the right hand side of this path and some on the left, so that is good news. There's our first one, and it's a nice one too. It's a nice pink and white. Another one next door to it, probably seedlings off the same plant. Can always rely on this little group, it's always here every year in a lovely setting. It's a nice one. This one's about 2.5 feet tall, which is unusually tall for an early purple orchid, certainly in these parts. It's also got no spots on the leaves, which is unusual. Brightening up the mud. One of the great orchid sights on my travels each season. Always just stops me in my tracks. Bluebells and a wonderful swathe of early purple orchids in the woods. That's the best one so far. Lovely colour scheme. Lovely. Such an elegant plant. Totally different to what you see at places like Barnock, where they're exposed to the elements. They're well protected in here. That's a very nice soft pink. A little bit tatty in the flower, but colour scheme is spot on. Another of these exceptionally pale, bordering on white but not white. Very soft pink. That's very nice. That's a big one. About 2.5 feet tall, that one. That's a nice, what should we call it, rose pink. Some rich colours on the bottom of that one. Sitting all on its own, it's a nice little spot under the trees. That was good. That was good. I was a bit nervous this morning, thinking it's 10 days before, 10 days earlier than when I came down to Southwick Wood last year, and they were about in their prime then. So, is it really going to be 10 days early and still have them close to their prime? Well, the answer is yes. I'm in about 80%. One or two of them 100%. One or two still in bud, but that was brilliant. That was better than I dared hope for, and there's some nice pink ones in there as well. It's exactly what I expect at Southwick Wood. It's a cracking site for early purples. Not many of them. They're all clustered in one or two areas. You can walk the rest of the wood, and there's plenty of wood there, and you won't find any more. They just like those spots. But yeah, great. Really pleased with that. So makes me a bit jumpy. I've got one more early purple orchid trip, which I think is a couple of weeks away still. So hopefully they'll hang on for me. It won't be so local as this one. Yeah, apart from that, you know what, I think I'm buoyed by what I've seen here today. I think I need to go somewhere like Mary's Meadows and take a look to see if the green winged orchids are out, because they're being featured in photographs all over the country now in full flower. And I don't suppose they'll be as far advanced as Melrose Farm was last week, but I can't believe they're not going to be at least 3/4 out. So I think that'll be my next trip out. I didn't go there last year, so I was going to have a look at Mary's Meadows and see how the green wings are doing. So thanks for joining me on this one. As ever, any comments you want to add, please add them. It's always nice to hear a bit of banter from people about what they're seeing or what I've seen and got wrong or whatever. Stick them on the YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed, smash that little button in the corner. It helps me out a heck of a lot going forward. And that's it. As I say, thanks for joining me, and I will see you probably very soon.